Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are diving into the major update overview for Galactic Disaster Season 2. I know we're in like a little bit of a tiff of a wait here. Hopefully this dev interview is gonna tide us over. I've briefly looked over it before. They have some stuff about 9s in here too. So let's check this one out. And this should actually have some ways for us to adjust our save data if they're gonna hold true to what they talked about previously in the grand scheme of what they're going to be doing with the placement of Season 2 and Season 3 in the overview they gave us previously. So let's check this out. Season 2 background, the slave arena of the Spits. Looking kind of cool out here. I don't hate the backgrounds. Here's the arena as well. And let's check and see what kind of cool stuff we have. The little plant man. All right. Now, Season 1 arena equipment. This is the arena equipment. Arena equipment features a variety of conditional trigger options that were not available on existing equipment. In particular, some equipment can grant arena cards when their effects are triggered, allowing you to temporarily upgrade the power of your hand through these cards. Now, this is kind of vague and a little confusing, but it's going to be new sort of equipment where it'll be like, when you do X, Y will happen. And some of these equipments will be like, when you do X, generate a card. I do believe they also in here, I saw somewhere there was, it was a leak a while ago where there's like a new gear set coming out that does something to do with like when you exhaust cards. We've seen some things like that previously for like the void set. When you exhaust cards, it increase your void damage. There was one that was like when you exhaust cards or do something, it like buffs your team damage. So I would assume some of these arena cards from this new arena equipment will have like exhaust on them potentially to work well with the actual new memory fragment set. So we'll have to see exactly what these are when they do come out. Season Power 2 Refinement. All right, now by winning arena battles in chaos regions, you can perform refinement. Arena locations can be checked at any time via the minimap. So this new arena thing sounds very similar to what we got in Season 1 with the dimensional tunnel system. Instead, we're going to be going into the arena probably real quick, like a little Fire Emblem flashback from the old Fire Emblem games. Don't ask me why I remember that, but all right. Now, refinement is a system that grants new abilities to equipment. And I did look over this one, and they have a pretty garbage example here for the picture because everything's in this fake language, right? And they don't make it pretty easy to understand when Narja has 3 copies of the same piece of equipment here for the weapon body and accessory slot. But all right, you can apply one of 3 randomly generated options to a selected piece of equipment. They say there's approximately 20 different options available, and the system allows you to enhance your equipment or introduce variations that match your preferred build style. So this is going to allow you to take a piece of equipment that you find during your run and add some sort of benefit to it. Is it going to be a super substantial benefit? I'm unsure on that. We'll have to see. There is a 20 different options available to that though, so I'm expecting this to be like maybe more attack or do more damage during a certain condition or be able to heal X% more. Something like that to just kind of buff up a piece of gear that you're getting through your run. Is it going to be a substantial change? Hopefully so. Hopefully it splices some things up. This does look like it's going to increase the RNG of what a perfect run or a near perfect save data build will be for a character that you're trying to min-max for inside of your Chaos Manifestation runs. But we'll have to see exactly how fun that is, or maybe irritating when that system is introduced during Season 2 here. We also have Season Power 3, the God's Hammer. Now, the interior bosses of Season regions are more powerful than the standard bosses. In return, defeating them will drop God's Hammer, which can grant access to exceptionally powerful effects. Now, the God's Hammer can be used on refined equipment, which we just talked about. And when used, the existing refinement effect is going to be removed, but in exchange, the equipment is randomly granted one of the possible equipment effects that appear inside of Chaos, including Mythic-grade effects. So they say with a bit of luck, you may even obtain powerful legendary or mythic effects on the piece of gear. So what this means, you know, we talked about like the orb of randomness, right? From the Cthulhu random boss that pops up that's like at the start of your turn +1 AP and draw a card. Is that going to be something that we can get from the God's Hammer effect? I'm not sure. But what does sound kind of interesting here is that you use the God's Hammer on a piece of refined equipment, right? Which is what we did on this season Power 2 with Refinement. We just talked about like, oh, there's 20 different options available. It's going to be a little bit of RNG. Will you get the one that you want? Will you get the one that you don't want on your build as you're going through the Chaos Manifestation and building that save data for that character? Potentially what you're able to do with this is maybe you'll get a refinement for a piece of gear that you want the piece of gear on. It's like the best on slot piece of gear, right? But the refinement you get like isn't the greatest. Potentially what you can do is you keep that garbage refinement on there, you get the God's Hammer, and then you just use the God's Hammer on that refined piece of equipment. It removes the refinement effect, which you don't care about anyway because it was already kind of garbage, but in return you get like this better new RNG, right, ability that's placed onto that piece of gear. So it's a little bit RNG itself, but it also kind of fights against potentially getting bad RNG on the refinement ability for your piece of gear. But this is definitely adding a little bit more RNG, but also a little bit more power to what you can gain on a character's save data through gear alone, instead of having to constantly only worry about getting like the base piece of gear and then worrying about how much save data you're using specifically inside of your cards in the build that you're coming up with, the cards in your run. What this is going to allow you to do is sort of min-max with the gear a little bit more, potentially, but it's got that RNG effect. We also have 0 upgrade revamp. Now, this, if I read it correctly, let's get in here. While the 0 upgrade revamp improves a variety of effects, we would first like to address the fatigue related to Epiphany and card duplication, which many protos have raised concerns about. This is what I saw here, and this was on the previous dev stuff they've been talking about, adding ways to really help us, you know, not feel the fatigue when looking for certain epiphanies in duplications in our runs. Now, currently, if the desired epiphany or duplication does not appear, players often abandon a chaos run immediately and restart. This is true because sometimes, you know what, there's like 2 or 3 different epiphanies for a card that you would like to use and you just don't get any of them, and it totally bricks your run for that character. And if that's the only character you're worried about building save data on, you just leave. Now, this pattern of mechanical repetition has become entrenched. Wow, we are ChatGPT, Google AI translating this. And over time, it undermines the core fun of the game, which is true, and reduces engagement. Yes, you know, if someone gets crazy RNG that they just never, ever get, Shadow Reload on Tressa, and they ran it like 17 times, and they're just at the bottom of the bell curve, right? On the bad side of RNG, where it's like, yeah, there's only a 1% chance that you ran it 20 times and it never showed up. If you're in that 1%, you're uninstalling the game, right? So this is something that they're doing to address that. Now, to address this, the system will be improved so pros can reasonably and enjoyably complete their runs all the way to the interior. And this is something they talked about previously, where we're going to be able to build up the sort of like abilities that we get for Chaos Zero system. I think they're gonna like smush stuff together and then add like a couple new tiers that's going to help the consistency side of your runs epiphany wise. In addition to that, we're going to break this down here. The first main addition is the meditation feature. Meditation is a new function available inside of safe zones that is unlocked through the upgrades, which we just kind of briefly touched on here inside of the Zero system. So you're going to be wanting to acquire your Zero system currency. And I've been kind of doing that during this downtime and getting prepared basically for this new change happening here. By spending a certain amount of credits, you can re-roll the epiphany on a card that already has an epiphany. This can be attempted in every safe zone you visit, with the cost gradually increasing based on the number of attempts. In addition to resting or training, safe zones now offer strategic choices through meditation. What this doesn't say though, right, is if you're able to use the shop and rest and do meditation. I'm not sure. It doesn't say if one cancels the other out. What the other thing it doesn't say here is if you re-roll an epiphany to a different epiphany, maybe that one has a divine blessing. Do you keep the same divine blessing? Does it re-roll the divine blessing? Doesn't say that at all. I would hate for this to be like a system that gets implemented and it's like, oh, well, I got a divine blessing on the wrong epiphany, and I'm just going to re-roll the epiphany and just gives you the base version. I think it'd be really cool if you got a divine blessing on the wrong epiphany. You take the Divine Blessing, and then you can meditate, right? Meditate with yourself and re-roll that into possibly the correct Epiphany and keep the Divine Blessing, which would be pretty nice as well. Second, enhancements to duplicate and select for the different cards in your save data. Previously, in order to control the duplication pool, players were forced to include combatants with many unique cards information. We talked about this when Narja came out. It became one of the standout features of her being a character when you're running through Chaos, is that all but one of her cards potentially can roll unique, so they won't show up in the RNG duplication pool when you're defeating bosses or events. And well, they said they don't like this. So artificially removing cards and undermining the core enjoyment of the roguelike experience is something they want to avoid here. Through upgrades, once again, of the Zero system, you will have the ability to select and duplicate one of 3 cards previously attained from unidentified areas, or boss defeat rewards can be now performed by designating a specific combatant, all right, instead of it just rolling 1 out of 3 at random for all of your combatants. I know it sounded like I butchered that sentence, but through upgrades, the select and duplicate 1 of 3 previously obtained from unidentified areas or boss defeat rewards can now be performed by designating a specific combatant. I didn't write it, I just read it. What this means though is that, like, instead of it just rolling everything, you'll be able to pick one of your 3, and then it will probably, you know, roll 1 of the 3 for that character. So what we're going to want to do, it's going to be a little bit of RNG as well, but if you can make it to a duplication event or make it to a boss where that character, or maybe you can remove some cards on your way to that boss once you have this upgrade, you can almost force a specific card into that pool of 3 for that character. If you haven't epiphanated and unlocked enough cards, maybe you removed a couple of cards that you don't want to have access to in that save data, talking like Mika with Whirlpool, right? You remove Whirlpool, it's not going to be there, and so it won't be one of the 3 that randomly show up. And now in addition to that, you can pick Mika, and so maybe she only has, you know, 3 cards that could potentially even be duplicated at that point in time, and you can just always nail Source of Water, for example. So that's kind of cool there as well, and this is a feature that you're going to have to unlock through Zero system upgrades as well. In addition, during the mid-season phase, environmental variables that affect Chaos as a whole will be introduced. So this is going to be a new little skill tree style thing. It says environmental variables are a skill tree style system that refreshes each season and is only active for the duration of that season. This system is designed to reinforce each season's core mechanics by supporting deck building, unlocking new rare fates, adding additional refinement opportunities, enabling encounters with hidden bosses, and introducing other variables that enhance overall season gameplay. I do also think that this will be a way, as you can see, that there are multiple stat boosts in here, possibly a way for them to temper how quickly we can get through seasonal content, depending on how they decide to scale that, if that's something they decide to do, because I am seeing a bunch of health percent bonuses in this skill tree here, but we'll have to see exactly what this details. I'm sure that there's going to be like an optimized route of like which way you want to go. Do you want extra stat bonuses to help you clear it faster? Can you get better, you know, skill tree points and use them to get like better rewards potentially? We'll have to see exactly what's going to be on this seasonal board here for the environmental variables throughout our Zero system usage in Season 2. There also is going to be a season board, which is a new piece of seasonal content. The season board, you will be able to view all seasonal records and objectives at a glance by obtaining and achieving major milestones. You can collect those season medals, which can be used as stickers. So this is just kind of like a new little, it shows you what they want you to accomplish. Maybe you get a couple rewards sort of things there. You can also decorate your ID card. Finally, look at that. We were finally able to do something with our ID card. I don't know why that wasn't in the base game here. And here's some big ones here. Codex improvements and unique options. So the Codex system will be improved to allow you to experience a wider variety of planets beyond seasonal chaos with the January 14th update. And the appearance rate of tier 14 codexes was adjusted to improve balance. In the upcoming February 4th update, which isn't that far away, Mythic-grade codexes will be added. Mythic-grade codexes can be obtained through merging chaos orbs or discovered upon clearing a codex. So this is a big one here. So these high Mythic-grade tiers You can obtain them only by merging with Chaos Orbs. It doesn't say merging period, only by merging with Chaos Orbs or by clearing a previous codex. So you can't just like merge with credits and get a Mythic-grade codex. What you can do is merge the blue pot, right? Or Laboratory Zero with credits, clear it, and when you clear it, it'll have a chance to then roll into a Mythic-grade codexes. So while these codexes come with heavier penalties, the save data limit will be increased up to tier 15. And then if you're on a nightmare mode, that's going to be, tier 16 basically, which is a fair amount. There's like 170 points, 107, tier 16, 180 points, 180 points on your save data limit there if you're in a tier 15 on Nightmare Mode. In addition, there's a chance for unique options such as Divine Intervention to be applied. Below is an explanation for the newly added unique Divine Intervention options. Encounter a god rather than the delegate, grants a Divine Fate at the start. Chaos Orb increases a Crystal of Discord acquisition, major increase there. Monster stat increase. Unable to acquire save data and special restrictions based on the intervening god. I don't know why they add this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, there's gonna be stuff to do. Here's an explanation of it. What? Okay, you just talked about gods a bunch. Okay, dude, whatever. The Divine Intervention option is applied. Save data will not be stored as a penalty. In exchange, though, Chaos Orbs and Crystal of Discord will drop in significantly increased quantities. So this is something if you don't really want to actually acquire save data for your characters and you just want to get through the codex, right? Get some extra currency so you can level up the codex system, level up the new tree, all that other stuff so you can do that faster. You're able to pick that possibly from these options here. While monsters become more powerful and overall difficulty rises, the system is designed to let you overcome challenges by leveraging the blessing of a god from the god you encounter. Long-term plan here, they plan to showcase the core appeal of the roguelike gameplay through Chaos Assault content, which utilizes save data from previous seasons. However, ahead of that update, this content was prepared with the intention of offering protos who have been craving roguelike gameplay a small but enjoyable experience. So what this tells me, and why this is so vague, is that they did in the overall like layout of what they had planned for season 1, season 2, season 3, that there was going to be a more roguelike focused mode that didn't really give us save data reward benefits, but allowed us to alter our save data with a currency that you get from running the Chaos Manifestation in, I think it was season 3. So this is like a little bit of a hint at that, I think, is what they're doing here. I mean, they're kind of just giving us an early access to a system of Chaos Manifestation that doesn't reward you with save data. And I think they're just trying to get some feedback on like, are people interested in it? What sort of rewards should we put in there? How should we, change it possibly, right? Can we change Chaos Manifestation when the rewards aren't just strictly save data? What sort of events are going to be in there, right? Because if we're not caring about the save data, then like card removal events and, like the meat event from Blue Pot where you're saving, the different memory points. You don't care if you're not saving the save data. You can have like a 500 point deck at the end of the day, make the best deck humanly possible, remove every basic card because you don't care about actually saving the save data there. So I think they're trying to figure out exactly how they want to balance that kind of content. And so they're giving us early access to it basically with this in season 2. Speaking of the new memory fragments, here we go. We talked about it previously on the leaks. They're actually going to showcase it here. Season 2 memory fragments will be added to align with newly introduced combatants. And I see 9 down there. I'm calling our 9s. Beast and Aspiration upgrades Justice and Order attribute exhaust attack cards. In Reign of Glory, increases allies' damage when generating or using exhaust skill cards. So we talked about that in this video previously, where they were suggesting that there's ways for new equipment to generate cards, basically, in the season 2 story of Chaos Manifestation. So we'll have to see if this aligns with the new stuff they talked about previously. I would assume that it's going to. And on top of that, combatants themselves that are coming out probably also are going to be generating cards with exhaust, which is a pretty powerful thing. Card generation in a game like CZN, especially if those cards that you're generating have low costs like 0, as we can see, have been pretty powerful. Now, I also want to talk about 9 here. They want to give us a sneak peek coming in the first update of Season 2. So this will be the first banner character in 9 is a Vanguard of the Order attribute, and she excels at efficiently generating shields for allies while dealing powerful defense-based damage to enemies. She has been designed to have great synergy with Narja, who is currently in the featured pickup. More detailed information about 9 will be shared in the near future. Now, I'm going to say this before we read this other kind of blurbs down here. I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of gotcha banner follow-up. We're gonna bundle these characters together and they might not work the best without each other sort of thing. Now, Narja's its own thing. Narja comes out. I think Narja's pretty good. We're gonna be putting together a tier list of powerful characters up there, and she's probably not gonna be at the tippity top, but she's gonna be right up there. And one of the cool things about Narja is she's got her own gimmick. She's got her own stuff. She does do defense-based damage, but she's got her own supportive capabilities, right? Whether it's reducing AP costs or buffing up the damage for your characters, but then she's got some epiphanies that allows her to buff up defense-based damage dealing characters. And she comes out and she's able to do that. And if you're a fan, you know, of Maribel, or if you're a fan of Calliope or Magna or any of these defense scaling damage dealers, a new character comes out and you're like, hey, you know what? One of the major downsides of these defense scaling damage dealers is like their modifier damage to like AP cost like just doesn't hold up to like a lot of the attack scalers, right? So then they come out with Narja, who's able to just strictly straight up buff defense-based damage dealers, so they're quite a bit better than before. And that's one thing. I don't mind that at all. But when you release a character like Narja and then go, hey, you know what? The next character we're going to be releasing is also going to be a defense-based damage dealing character, and she's going to work well with Narja. Because of that, the developer side of my brain, the game developer side of my brain goes, well, you know what? You saying that, hey, you know what? We need to release Narja and have her be able to buff up defense-based damage dealers because they have an intrinsic design weakness where their damage to AP ratio, you know, the amount of benefit you get from having a defense-based damage dealer in this game just isn't quite up to snuff. But we can sort of fix that, I guess, temporarily by introducing, you know, Narja in the way to buff up those damage dealing characters. That's fine, but you've identified a problem with the defense-based damage dealing characters in your game, and then you're immediately going to follow it up with a 5-star defense-based damage dealing character. Not saying that 9 won't be good or even usable without Narja. I have just never liked it in any gacha game when the developer goes, hey, there's a problem, we'll sell you the solution, and then on top of that, we're gonna sell you another character that works really well with the solution that we just sold you. It's like doubling down on a problem and not really fixing the core elements of that problem. But we'll have to see exactly what 9 does, because, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because, well, her whole gimmick is doing damage. Based on what generating shields and doing damage. Cool, we already have a bunch of characters that do that. So we'll have to see exactly what her kit's going to be about, but that doesn't sit super well with me. And I've been thinking about stuff like this, especially when they're like, oh, we need to nerf Casa and Tressa and Cassius and Tressa and like the Mika combo. And oh, we gotta nerf it, dude. Spamming zeros is too strong. And then they immediately drop Serenial, who can do like the entire combo pretty much by herself. Right after they said it's causing a problem for the game. So maybe we'll get a video on that, my thoughts on that. But I'm interested in seeing what 9 does. I think when we saw her for the first time, I was like, that's going to be the character I'm going to want to pull on. But with her being a defense scaling damage dealer, I don't know if I want to anymore, guys. That's just how it's going to be, because it kind of pigeonholes her into wanting to be with Narja most of the time if she's going to be a strictly defense-based damage dealing character with little team utility. We'll have to see about that, though. On top of that, though, I didn't want to ramble that long on my thoughts, but preparations for the upcoming Galactic Disaster Season 2 update are now entering their final stages. We would like to once again apologize to protos who have been experiencing a shortage of content due to the delays. Thanks, Owen. All right. But outside of that, they haven't really said anything. We got mailed some 300 crystals, which is how I found out about this when I logged on for the day here today. And that's basically all that they've said here. So I'm pretty interested in a lot of this stuff. The Zero system getting a lot of buffs out here. And the RNG plus the ability for us to kind of buff up the gear that we have. It's looking like it's coming into a little bit of a better alignment. The Epiphany, rerolling, and the select and duplicate changes are going to be good. But remember that this isn't just going to be a part of the update. You're not going to log in and it's all going to be there. You're going to have to upgrade the Zero system. So hopefully it doesn't like take away our Zero system credits if you want to get out there while we're on downtime right now and just get some extra Zero system games in there. Just get some credits, run lower level tier stuff if you're not looking for save data, because seasonal save data is coming out anyway. Level up your planets, go do some Zero system upgrades, earn some currency, and then hopefully you'll have like a little bit of head start on the new abilities that we're unlocking in the Zero upgrade revamp coming with season 2 on the February 4th update. With that being said, you let me know what you guys think about it down below. I'll have the tier list out soon. Check out the initial, if you're working on Nardra, the couple archetypes of decks and the important epiphanies. You can check those videos out as well. And until then, God bless, and I'll see you guys in the next one.